Where visualization can help is in 3 key areas: the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you perform. The most famous example would be Michael Phelps with alchemists. You take someone like Iga Swiatek, she just does process visualization. She'll mentally rehearse her serves. She'll focus on what she can control. The amazing thing is that your brain really struggles to know the difference between what's real and what's imagined.
Welcome to Untapped with me, Spencer Matthews, bringing you conversations with incredible people to inspire us and give us tools to help untap our potential. Today's guest is Raichoora, the UK's leading mental fitness expert who overcame chronic illness to become a visualization coach for elite athletes, leading CEOs and global brands. And we had a fascinating discussion and tried out some of her techniques that you can follow along with at home as well. It's a really good one. So without further ado, here's Jake and my conversation with Raichoora. Thanks so much for joining us in studio.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
We are incredibly curious about visualization. And why don't we kick this off with differentiating visualization from manifesting?
I get asked this a lot because I think the word visualization is used in the topic of manifestation. Like people say, oh yeah, I just visualize my goals. So I think there are 2 key differences. One is there are 5 techniques of visualization. So in my 8 years of research, most people will know outcome visualization where you are seeing your goals. That's where there might be a slight overlap. However, I always like the question of would we ever say Michael Phelps manifested 26 gold medals? Would we ever say that?
Probably not.
No. For him, yes, there was a lot of hard work, but also he was wiring his brain for that success, to see that goal or to, keep going. And so with the 5 techniques, we've got outcome, we've got process, creative, negative, and explorative. Now, the 4 others have nothing to do with achieving a goal. They're all for different areas of your mind or your body or your personal development. The second thing I do want to mention is that I think culturally, when we think about manifestation, everyone does it maybe at the beginning of the year when they're they're doing all their New Year's goals. The way you frame a technique really matters, because if you say, right, visualization is a mental fitness training tool that I'm going to invest in every day, you're not just going to do it maybe once a year. It's something that becomes part of your routine. And so I really bring in visualization from a point of view of, well, why were athletes using it? What exactly were they doing to wire their brains to think, feel, and perform like the top 1%.
And you think that visualization can actually rewire your brain?
Yes, not only am I living proof of that, but I see it every single day. Let's just look at the mind, right? The mind, what is it? We don't even know. We were never taught about it. But the brain is super interesting where it's got all these roads in it. So if we make it really simple, think of your brain like a city. And you've got roads that are motorways, country roads, roads that your parents built, roads that your teachers built, roads that you're now building for your kids, right? And the more you drive along them, they become permanent. So take, for example, what most people feel, I'm not good enough, or, oh no, but I can't do that, or, oh no, I'm not very good at maths. Those are the roads that we get built when we're young, but they keep going on because we keep driving on them. So how are you meant to change that? How are you meant to change those roads? There are 2 ways. One, you either experience something new, right? So let's say you suddenly did really well in maths. You're now maybe going to believe, oh yeah, okay, I'm actually okay. And your brain starts to believe that more. Or you use visualization. Because the amazing thing is that your brain really struggles to know the difference between what's real and what's imagined.
So what's the most common mistake people make when they're trying to do visualization?
Well, I think everyone's making it right now because everyone is already pretty much an expert. The problem is they're visualizing the worst case scenarios.
Is that just general anxiety, you would call that?
Well, it doesn't have to be anxiety. It could just be because let's say you've had an experience where something went wrong, then you're naturally going to keep repeating that. And so I get a lot of people saying, I visualize, let's say, me going blank on stage or me not crossing the finish line of the marathon because I'm scared. We're trained to think a little bit negatively. And because we repeat that again and again, you're also wiring your brain, to become more anxious or worried.
So is that let's put this in sports terms, a striker who hasn't scored for 5-6 games. So is that negative visualization of him going, oh, I'm going to miss again, that's rewiring his brain in a negative way?
Yeah, because your brain will start to believe what you tell it and what you repeatedly tell it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but one thing to clock is actually some athletes love negative visualization.
This is something I was going to ask. So it can actually be a good thing as well, right?
If you do it correct. So I think the most famous example would be Michael Phelps, because he, with his coach, would visualize the water in his goggles filling up. And in the visualization, he would basically plan how he'd respond to it. Now, he did many different scenarios. He did some where he was falling behind, some where he literally did a bad dive, etc. And then in Beijing, it happened. And it was in his fly race. And his goggles filled up. And not only did he win, but he got the world record. And in the interview after, they were like, what happened? Because we saw something happened. And he was like, so my goggles filled up. Now, any other person would have panicked. They would have been like, should I take them off? Should I just keep going? They'd look around. He was like, I had visualized that scenario over 50 times that I knew exactly what to do. It didn't faze me. I knew I had to swim the rest of that race blind. And he did that.
Is it easier for very talented, confident people to get behind visualization as an example?
Yeah, I think the great thing about it is it's versatile. And I think the way I would explain it is when you look at your life, where visualization can help is in 3 key areas: the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you perform. So if, let's say, fine, you don't feel like you're a very confident person, then what studies have shown is that by you seeing yourself as the confident self-image you want, and you have to define that for yourself, then actually you can start becoming that person. Very simple. However, let's put it into a task, let's say, that all of us do. Let's actually take podcasting, okay? So or public speaking, communicating. When I grew up, I was okay. I was just pretty average, right? And then actually, through different experiences in my life, I became worse and worse and worse and developed a massive fear of it. Take today, I'm now, on stages all around the world, on podcasts, etc. That didn't happen because I was physically doing it all the time. I really relied on using visualization to get better at the skill so that when I did then perform, I was better. So I'll give you an example. Before any live event, including this, so I did this in the car here, close my eyes, and I will mentally rehearse, right, Maya, how do you want to walk in? What do you want your hands to do? What do you want your tone of voice to be? And it might sound a bit it's kind of well, does it really work? But again, think about it. I am priming my brain to show up for a task better. I will perform better than 90% of people because I've done that. Because I'm not nervous. I'm not oh no, what if I say something wrong? My brain and body are in autopilot now. And of course, it's not to say that it's not gonna turn out exactly the way it is. It's more I am controlling what I can control. But because so many of us are on autopilot, we just walk in, and let's say we've had a really difficult experience, I don't know, at home with our kids, we're gonna come in with that same energy. So it's kind of that chance to just reset. But also, if I take it, when I wasn't very good at public speaking, for me, it was just being able to get my brain used to the fact that you could speak on stage or you could speak in front of people. So I was telling my brain, actually, we've done this 10s, 20s, 100 times now, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it's the same level of if you were to actually go and do it.
So if somebody at home who's never done any visualization at all before, how would they start? Yeah,
so I always recommend, I guess, 2 types. One, I think character is very good to start with, because I think if you ask yourself, right, what's an area of my character I just want to improve right now? Sometimes it is confidence. Sometimes it might be I want to be a bit more empathetic. But a lot of high performers will, they say, I want to respond better rather than just react to things. I want to be able to show up for my family. There are so many different aspects of our character that we can keep improving. So very simply, you would, again, close your eyes and you would see, well, what does that actually look like? There's no point us saying it I want to be this. And then we don't actually tell our brain and body what that looks like. And then once you do that enough with repetition, you start acting like that. You start thinking like that.
So say you're the kind of person that gets, very involved in your work and you're quite a career-driven kind of person, very ambitious. And you realize that you are focusing quite a lot on your own career to the point where it could be selfish even. And you are maybe neglecting your kids. This isn't a specific example, by the way, but you're neglecting your kids a bit as an example. Right. Are you saying that you, at some point in the day, should just sit and take a moment and consider what hugging your kids is going to be like when you get home. Like, how would you advise that I visualize things? Like, do you take a moment to yourself, like you said in the car? Do you switch off? You shut your eyes? Is it a kind of meditation? I'm not trying to accredit meditation or manifesting for visualization. I understand they're different things, but how exactly do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, no, you're very correct that visualization is a meditative process. And that's for a reason, right? Because when you have closed your eyes, you have taken a moment of stillness, you actually give your brain a better chance to rewire. Take, for example, what you just said. So something we have to ask ourselves is, we have many roles in life. Sometimes you are a podcaster. Sometimes you might be a father, a friend, whatever. But often when they all get interlinked, like, we just can't be as intentional with how we want to show up. And, I've experienced this so many times, and I get it. Like, I think parents make some of the hardest sacrifices that kids will never understand unless we are the parents, right? But like, a very simple thing is to ask yourself, well, what does being a good father look like? Now, you can even ask your kids that. What do you actually need from me? Do you want presents? Do you want more time where actually we just go for, I don't know, a 10-minute chat? Like, I used to love, just sitting in the car where you actually can't get out and you have to talk. They're some of the best times. But again, like, you have to ask yourself, if you have been in the same habits and routines and autopilot for so long, you won't change your behavior. So that's why by you, closing your eyes and seeing, right, what does a good father look like? Seeing yourself get home, seeing how you greet your kids. Let's say there's a massive argument going on. How can you show up a bit differently so you don't repeat the same patterns?
Does all of this come down to the maturity to understand that you need to change?
Yeah, the thing I've observed amongst, I'd say, most people is everyone wants change in some area of their life, but few people are actually prepared to or ready to change. Very, very subtle difference. Everyone wants change. Few people are prepared to change.
I think it's a really interesting point, not to dwell on the change thing, but surely this kind of practice matters entirely on whether or not you're wanting to get better. Like, nobody's going to be visualizing for things to get worse, right?
Unless you're Michael Phelps in the pool.
Yeah. It is. It's interesting, isn't it? Because
I guess, could you use that in a relationship? Could you use that negative visualization to help you in a relationship? So
you could visualize getting divorced, I suppose.
Oh, no, but you visualize getting into an argument, and then that argument arises, and you've been there before, so then you know how to get out of it.
100%. Well,
not asking
yes.
for me.
No. I love this. We need a relationship expert, guys.
Certainly isn't. This is not specific to Jake.
No, but what you would do is, let's say you aren't the best at reacting or responding in arguments. So I used to have a very successful CEO, but home life, awful. To the point that he would just lash out. Even at the question of, like, what do you want for dinner? But because he'd been so stressed in the day, that to him was like the worst question ever kind of thing. But even with him, what we did was we would actually predict some of those arguments. But in the visualization, I would simply ask the prompt of, like, how would you respond slightly differently here? Whether that's just taking a pause, whether that's perhaps asking a different question. And again, it's going to seem a little bit like, oh, okay, but what's this going to do? But you're disrupting your usual ways of behaving and reacting. And that, honestly, in a relationship is gold. And even like, after a few months, it was it was the most, like, probably the most meaningful thing I've ever received. His wife texted me being like, Maya, because it was his wife who actually recommended him to come to me. And then his wife was like, Maya, I can't even explain the change. And not only it feels like I have my husband back, but also like we're now entering a whole new phase in our relationship. And like, that's amazing. And I know, again, it's like, visualization isn't used to help him perform better, but it is, because arguments are a performance. You are still carrying out a task. And I think when we're so used to doing something a certain way, we just keep going.
Sleep is the most impactful and natural performance-enhancing tool at our disposal. Without it, my body would simply not be able to recover and repair itself after I go for a run or a workout. It is essential to maintaining and enhancing our well-being. With Whoop, I'm able to track my sleep every single night and how it affects the type of activities I choose to do the following day. Think of sleep as your bank balance. The best thing is that every single day you get the chance to deposit more into the bank so that in the long term, you withdraw in the form of energy expenditure when you need it most. Whoop breaks down sleep so as to take the guesswork out of the equation. Not only do you get guidance each day around how much sleep you need based on your activity that day and what your optimal time to go to bed is, but with Whoop, you get a detailed analysis of the quality of your sleep and what you can do to be improving it. In addition to monitoring your sleep, you'll also get detailed insights into your recovery, stress levels, strain, and feedback on how your lifestyle choices impact each of these metrics. If you are interested in taking control of your health and wellness so that you can excel in all aspects of your life, you have to go and check out Whoop. Go to join.whoop.com/untapped to try Whoop for free for 30 days today. This is a quick message to say thanks so much for listening. And if you haven't already, please follow and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. We're still a new podcast, and with your support, we can keep bringing you amazing conversations. If you just take a few seconds to subscribe, follow, and review us wherever you are, it really does help support the show. Thanks again for listening. Now back to Maya.
In a relationship, when you was having problems, you'd more likely go to couples therapy or something like that. So why did she reach out and think visualization would be the most and best and effective way to help him? Is that because he'd already been working with you in business and she was like, can it flip from business to relationship to sport?
He came to me for business, to be a better leader and actually a better father. When I say think, feel, perform like the top 1%, I think that's in all areas of your life. And you'll realize that even athletes, even these massive executives, they're all human at the end of the day. So whilst, yes, it was initially for business, and, I'm not there to look at the relationship. I'm there to be like, how can you show up better? And the thing is, therapy is where you're really going back to the past and you're like, why do you behave like this? And yes, there's an element of that, but I'm very concerned with, let's see that change in behavior. I want to actually see progress in, the way you are responding to someone or the way you go to work and do a, presentation. That's where I see the results, and that's really important.
I think good communication is probably the most important thing.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, I'd actually argue communication isn't enough these days. I think you've got to over-communicate, truly.
That's
what
I mean, really, over-communicating.
Yeah, you've got to, and to the point that it's like, never assume. Never assume that, like, for example, I hate words of affirmation. If someone's telling me, oh my God, Maya, like, I love this, I just won't respond. Like, I don't like it. I love giving it.
Well, because it's too much.
I just don't respond to it. So,
Does it make you feel awkward or?
No, it just doesn't mean much.
So explain that. Just go on. So what, you find it insincere?
No. A specific compliment goes a very long way. I love that. I think it's more that, like, take example the word like I love you. Naturally, the more we say it,
the less it means.
It loses its like initial like wow. That's not to say you don't say it, but I think we've got to innovate with how we communicate.
We had this discussion in a different episode the other day about the importance of pride and that feeling of being proud, right? So like,
I don't feel that.
What do you mean?
I've never felt pride before.
Really?
Well, you've never felt proud of yourself?
No, but it's interesting because I only felt proud of myself for the very first time maybe last year. Been alive for 36 years.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So I haven't. That's interesting though that you would say that and be honest about it.
I told you this earlier. So my stepson scored yesterday in football.
Oh yeah.
I cried. Do you know why? Because I knew how much it meant to him. He'd had a few games where he's not scored. He'd missed a sitter the week before. And he scored. I know he scored. And the way he celebrated and the way his teammates gathered around him, it just made me really emotional all of a sudden. And that was massive. And my mum and dad were proud of me in everything that I did, even if it wasn't that great. And I'm a little bit like the same with my kids now. Like Leo brings me a drawing which is just a stick with a head on. And I'm like, unbelievable.
They did this experiment with kids, right? Took two groups, and one group, they were literally saying was like, you did an amazing job. Like that, I'm so proud of what you created. Like it's beautiful. Like both of what you're basically saying. The other group, they got received like reward for their effort.
Okay.
It was like, you've done such an amazing job on the drawing. You don't have to say it's amazing if it's not actually that good, but you've done it. Like, go you for taking the time to like, take 10 minutes and draw this. Like, cool job that you did that. You don't have to say it's an amazing drawing. It's not. But that group, they went on to do so much better.
Who? What? The effort group.
If you reward effort, your performance will go higher.
Yeah.
But do you both feel proud of yourselves like today in who you are?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm very proud of the person I'm becoming and have become. the best compliment I ever received, literally the other day, is my 4-year-old was in the kitchen and I said to him, what do you want to do when you're older? What do you want to be when you're older? And he said, I want to be you. And that to me was like, that means I'm doing a pretty good job at the minute. Do you know what I mean? He said, I want to go to the gym. I want to do what you do. I want to work on stage. And I was like, sweet. So that means he's watching me right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I reckon 5 years ago, he probably wouldn't have said the same.
No, this is a really good point. So one of the reasons why, I'll put it into sport first and I'll explain why this is important. So sometimes with the athletes I work with, when they've performed very, very well, I will tell them, go back, watch it over 5, 6 times. Because even when you might not be doing the visualizing, but you are watching someone do it, your mirror neurons in your brain, they start activating. So let's say you're performing really well. Your brain is now thinking, oh my God, this is how I perform. This is how I perform. Same when it comes to things like representation, or let's say like your kid, when he sees that this is possible, I could, let's say, talk on stages, I could do what you're doing. You know, if he didn't grow up in that scenario, he's not, his brain isn't open to being like, this could happen.
He could actually do that.
That's it. That's really important. Like that understanding from almost within your family. I think that things are possible. Like I had that my whole life, you know, where I grew up thinking, wow, my dad has done this and my brothers have done this. Like that's incredible. Like maybe I can do something with my life, you know. So there was always confidence built into my character from a young age because they did it. It wasn't like, and I think obviously it doesn't have to be from within your family, but if you can have people to look up to within your family, obviously that is such a blessing, isn't it? Your son wanting to be like you.
100%,
it's amazing. Instead of your son watching somebody else on TV and going, I want to be like them.
Yeah.
You know, like, isn't it nice that it's under the same roof?
Yeah, but I think if we come back to something I think most people suffer with, which is that like lack of self-esteem, right? Like, so I met a 9-year-old boy yesterday at football, and he was saying that he's in the academy for one of the like Premiership teams, and he's got so much talent, but already he's thinking, oh no, I'm not going to make it. These people are better than me. Or like, you know, but what if like this fails or anything? And it starts so young. And it comes back to this thing of you have just emphasized, because I have done this, because I watched XYZ achieve things. And let's be honest, the things you are achieving are pretty exceptional. If you hadn't have achieved any of those things, do you still think you'd be proud of yourself?
No.
But do you not think that's a problem?
I haven't ever thought about it.
Finally someone said
As in like, but high performers, it's our value, our confidence, our belief in ourselves is so linked to the results we get. I think it's that thing, right? It's that imposter thing. In your head, a high performer is someone who has to achieve insane amounts. And look, like, yeah, you're both very successful people. You've technically made it in society's eyes, right? Which is why a lot of people can't relate to that all the time. So it's refreshing to be like, look, I don't consider myself a high performer but again, it comes back to if you're making effort for something and you're trying at something, that is high performing. Like, I don't know, you take these athletes like Michael Jordan, whatever, they lost so many times before they won, you know, and they were doing everything in the dark, in silence, before they then were praised publicly.
Have you seen that incredible Roger Federer speech?
So good.
Yeah.
How he lost like 50% of his points, right?
He only won something like 52% of his points in every single match that he ever played.
Which is incredible to think.
So, you know, to imagine him losing just a few more points, he would have lost like the majority of the games instead of winning the majority of the games.
Exactly.
So he only just won, basically, on paper, the majority of his games.
But that just proves that he didn't stop because he was losing those points. He kept going.
Yeah.
But is there a difference between losing and failing?
Losing is failing, right? So you are failing if you're losing.
Yeah, so I think losing is pretty black and white, right? There are losers or winners. Now, that is literally how I grew up. Playing, you know, professional sport, there is either a loser or a winner. But failing, I think, is how you view the loss. Because I used to be a very, very bad loser. I used to cry on court. I used to then think, okay, I'm not good enough. I used to hate the person that beat me. So I had a lot of resentment, jealousy, all of that. And it weighs on you, it massively weighs on you. But it means you can never, I don't think you can get better. Failure is where, you know, you can fail so many times and still succeed. But I don't think you can lose so many times and still, you know, win like that.
I was on a train the other day up to Manchester and randomly was sat next to Jack Draper, the UK's...
He just won yesterday.
Yeah, the UK's #1
That's
tennis
amazing.
player, right? And he's beaten Carlos Alcaraz. He's beaten Sinner. He's beaten the best people who are currently playing the game in the world. And I said to him, because we had a question about, I had loads of questions for him, obviously, because
He's like, can you get me off this train?
Yeah.
He loved it, actually. We should get him on.
I was going to say, why don't you just get him on the podcast rather than interview him?
Yeah, I interviewed him on the train anyway, so I kind of know what he's going to say. So I can give you an answer to one of his questions now. I said to him, when you step out on court playing, at a high level at the US Open, say, or at Wimbledon, do you see yourself winning or losing? And he said, I see myself losing every single game, like every single match. And I said, really? Like it's just, that struck me as really strange that like a leading tennis player in the world wouldn't consider themselves a winner, or at least when you go into a boxing ring, you visualize winning, obviously, because visualizing getting, your head caved in isn't great. So you try to be positive. But he just said that there is such a fine line between, the best people in the world and the people who are like 90th, 100 in the world, that it's so similar that those people can beat these people on any given day and vice versa. He's like, the difference between the people at the very top is they win on average a little more than the rest. But like actually, you step on court with someone who's 100th, in the world, there's a really good chance that you're going to lose.
It is. I do agree. It's not even the 1%, 0.0001%. Now they did a study, right? They looked at what is the difference between the top 5 tennis players in the world versus the top 20. Now, what do you think it was? Was it their coach? Was it their eating? Was it their nutrition? Do you know what it came down to?
Visualization.
I wish, actually. No, it was
Their serve.
No, it was what they said to themselves in their mind after they had lost a point.
Well, hang on a sec. So it is kind of visualization.
Well, no, that's more self-talk, right? But what we're saying here is the ones that were top 5, when they lost a point, focused.
Forget about it.
No, they focused on what they were doing well and then accepted the loss, right? The people who were like top 20, they would dwell on it a bit longer. But the thing is, now I love tennis. I research it a lot. And like Jack Draper is a good example of someone yesterday, he won obviously yesterday, and you could see in between his games, he was on his chair, closed his eyes, and he clearly was mentally rehearsing, whether it was his performance, his serve, maybe it was him losing, but he's utilizing mental imagery there. Take the night before, he was playing against Alcaraz. This is such an interesting case study on performance. Jack Draper won 6-1, first set.
Against Alcaraz?
Yeah, Alcaraz tanked. Second set, Alcaraz won 6-love. So both players here, they're on level 4 of performance because they literally can't react. They can't get to their high-performing stage. Third set, fine, it was more equal, and then Jack won. But you could see the change in how someone was showing up. How, I always believe, the most dangerous opponent is the one that isn't afraid to lose. They're not too worried about it. So when I did more research into this, some people need to see themselves winning. For them, they need to build up their belief, their motivation. This is what Venus Williams did. She'd always see herself winning the game. Even if she didn't, at least she gave her the best chance to do it. You take someone like Iga Swiatek, so number 2 in the world, women's tennis. She doesn't even look at if she's going to win. She just does process visualization. She'll mentally rehearse her serves, her forehands. She'll focus on what she can control. And this is important. Everyone's brains are different. Just like how when I go to the gym, I definitely won't be doing the same thing as both of you. And same with you two. It's the same thing. Your mind is different. You will be motivated and helped by different things and techniques.
As somebody that also loves watching tennis, the thing that I notice that really differentiates kind of champions from good players is when they are like match point against them type thing. And they're able just to play the point. Like, I've seen Novak Djokovic or Federer or Nadal come back from 3 match points and 2 sets down to win, which is remarkable because that requires a really special mindset, like not to kind of throw in the towel on an emotional level. When you're 2 sets down and 3 match points, down, most people would just go for that big Larry shot down the line just to either get the game over or win the point type thing. But these guys and women don't do that. They stick with it. They grind it out. They force the error. Like they for lack of a better term, they just don't give up. They just stick at it.
Yeah.
And it's a really like insane thing to watch. Like Djokovic is your main man for that.
Would you say they've probably rehearsed that situation 1,000 times in their head?
Yeah, definitely. Like even with the players I coach now, my favorite one is, you're 40 love down, it's match point. How are you playing? And so the more they're doing that, like they're not freaked out then when they're there. It's just a normal situation for them. Djokovic is a good example. And as we were talking about emotions here. So he is someone where he gets angry, he needs to let it out. You see him, he expresses it. Sometimes he cries, he shouts. Now, take us in our daily life. I love that you said to me that you cried when your kid scored. So many of us are walking around life suppressing everything we feel.
I don't suppress, by the way. You asked me that earlier.
You don't suppress.
I just don't know how to get it out, to be honest.
Okay.
I'd love to cry. I just don't know how to do it.
But like emotions are energy, right? It's just energy in motion. So what I find is you take Djokovic, when he doesn't express, he plays worse because now the expression is going through his shots and therefore they're going to fly out. They're going to be not very good precision. Some players, like the 17-year-old Andreeva, she just won, right? She uses her anger. She uses it so damn well because she knows she's got this extra energy. She actually has trained herself to use the anger to help her. So again, it comes back to this thing of like, what do your emotions need? Now, I was someone who suppressed a lot and it led to disease. It led to awful, awful years of my life. But now I realize that emotions do just want to be released.
What role did visualization play in your recovery from illness?
So yeah, for me, age 15 was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is actually a very common disease. I think it's like every half an hour, one person gets diagnosed with either colitis or Crohn's. So it's an inflammatory bowel disease. I was a very positive individual. I kind of just took it on my chin and I was like, yeah, okay, but like it's not gonna define me. But like, oh my gosh. And I always struggle talking about this because I don't know how to put it into words. And even when I was writing the book, my story was the last chapter I wrote because every time I started, I was just in floods. I didn't know how to like just say what really happened because it's so animalistic. A very long story short is colitis can be very physically and mentally, consuming. But, at my worst, I'm going to the loo, I'd say like 30, 40 times a day. And you're like really in pain because you're internally bleeding basically on 65 tablets and, a girl who had so much confidence and joy and like hope for life, all gone. Not any fault of my own. I just think when you go through something like that for about 4 or 5 years on repeat, you get very broken. So where visualization really played a role is initially it was simply hope. It was hope. Because I remember I was in the hospital and I hadn't walked in a long time. Now, if we go back to, again, the science, I haven't done an activity for a while. My brain it's not familiar. So I basically used visualization to start rehearsing walking again. I was just teaching my brain, this is what I want to be doing, what I want to be familiar. This isn't like some massive goal that I'm like manifesting. No, I was going very much like, what does it feel like to walk again? And when I gained some strength and I could see the difference it was making, that's when I basically just dedicated everything to learning about how can I utilize my mind and visualization. And a really good one was for pain. So I learned about this through like the placebo effect, researchers like David Hamilton, Louise Hay, and they would say, close your eyes and like, imagine what the pain looked like in your body. And at first I was like, what the hell? Like, just give me some morphine kind of thing. But then I actually did it. And for me, there were these like piranhas eating my colon. That's what I saw. So in my visualization, I killed them all. I would shoot one after the other. And again, it's going to sound a bit weird, but the brain really struggles, right? To know if it's happening or not. Now, it's not that the pain went, but did I gain a bit more control over it? Yes. And eventually, did it start to get massively relieved? 100%.
So are you completely well now?
Yeah. So I'm on no medication. I'm the happiest, healthiest I've ever been. And I, obviously lots have changed. My diet, I eat very clean. My lifestyle, I cut out everything toxic. But the mind played the biggest role.
At the beginning?
No, even now.
So what was it that reversed the illness in your opinion?
So I guess I'm careful to, because you're told it's incurable, and I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to say that I'm cured.
The diet and stuff helps. All that
It all
kind of
helps.
stuff, yeah.
I think because for so long I was told you will be ill all your life. You can't walk again. You can't go to uni. That is literally all I was imagining. And of course, I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to believe that. And so I think it has to start with a moment of like possibility.
I think what you said about hope is like the best thing. Like, I love that, because sometimes all somebody needs is a little bit of hope.
Yeah, and look, hope is science and an art. And there's I think his name's Henry Snyder. He does the hope theory, and he says you need 3 things for hope. You need to see the goal you're going for, so have that element of like, I could do this. What is possible? 2, pathways thinking. Pathways thinking is seeing many ways to get there. Don't have to have the exact answer. Seeing many ways. And then 3, agency thinking. That's knowing that you can be the one to do it. So you need goal thinking, pathways thinking, agency thinking.
Do you think that believing you can do something is the most important thing when setting out to achieve a goal?
Yeah, so I've worked with belief a lot, because I don't think there's a direct correlation between like positive thinking and belief and achieving your goal. But I would say there's a direct correlation between the negative thinking and not believing in yourself and then not achieving that goal. So it's kind of like, well, why don't you give yourself the best chance? Now, the thing I've learned about belief is it's a full-time job, right? It's not something that you either have or don't have, because there are going to be so many experiences in life or people or like results. If you, let's say, fail at something, naturally your belief will go a little bit down. So I see it as it has to be a dynamic skill that you're constantly building. That's why I call it a full-time job. But yes, self-belief is everything. It is everything. And I mean that in the point of like, if I look at any person who's achieved something, take Roger Bannister, Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, the Federers, anything, they'll always say, I had to believe. And actually, here's a good one, make it so real. I was speaking to, so it was a match, it was Fulham against Man U, and it was penalties, right? And I asked one of the players, what do you think about when you're about to take that penalty? You've got like 70,000 people who are saying like, boo, basically. What are you thinking? He's like, you have no choice here but to genuinely believe you can do it. And I know it sounds really simple, but these are people who daily have to train themselves to believe in their capabilities. And even if you lose, do you still have belief in yourself?
What advice would you give to somebody that struggles to believe in themselves?
Do a belief audit immediately. So number 1, ask yourself, do you believe in yourself? Right? And if not, why not? But if you do, also remind yourself why. And a lot of us will say, because I've done it before, or because I've, someone told me this. But do you really make it about you? And then start to ask yourself, well, actually, what are some of those beliefs you have about whether it's like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I can't do this. Actually become aware of them. Where do they come from? Who said them? Now, it's not always going to be your fault, but it's your responsibility.
This is an advertisement from BetterHelp. There are a lot of misconceptions out there about therapy. People think it's just somebody telling you what to do, but in all honesty, therapy helps you self-reflect and get out of your own way. My Untapped journey wasn't just a physical one, but a mental one too. Having access to therapy has not only helped me overcome challenges in my personal life, but helped me perform better as an athlete as well. It's not about having an instruction manual or being told what to do. You develop tools over time that you can use to be the best version of yourself and give yourself the best opportunity to be healthier and happier. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/untapped. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/untapped. I was about to say, where does not believing in yourself stem from? Is it your parents? Is it the environment that you grow up in? Is it is it the friends you spend time with? Are you a product of your environment? You know, like if you spent all of your time with Tibetan monks who are extraordinary at lots of things, will you inherently become extraordinary at lots of things as well? Or, you know, if you're spending time with a group of friends and you know they're the wrong group of friends and, you know, they spend all of their lives in the pub doing drugs, is that how you're going to end up? You know, like what creates self-belief?
Everything is going to have an influence, right? The people, and I think as you get older, you realize that a lot more, that, you know, things are saying, like, you do take it in. Social media, massive problem, because you get it so young where you'll see such a like a stark difference between where you are and where someone else is. And it will immediately make you think, oh my God, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But you see the top of the iceberg, right? So our brains are constantly getting primed to think like, you're behind. I think self-belief, like everyone can build it in different ways. I think self-talk, massive role to play. So motivational self-talk, like you can do it. And a very great tip I would say to anyone that, you know, if you're listening to this, you could do this right now. It's called the doorway method, right? So Bob Bowman, brilliant coach, he says, every time you walk through a door, just say something that is useful for your brain or for your performance or for your worth. Like, I'm going to do this. I can do this. Even when I walk through this door, I'll just be like, might have some fun, right? Now, how many doors do you walk through every day?
60.
So probably more, so many. But then imagine you would have said that to yourself 60 times.
60
exactly.
times, yeah.
And so it's such a simple way. Your brain needs repetition, basically. So self-talk is number one. So you need that motivational self-talk.
And is that simple as just looking in the mirror in the morning and going, you're a boss. You can do anything you want today. You will achieve what you want today. You will be the best person at your job today. Do you know what I mean?
So people get this wrong where they think like self-talk is all about like, yeah, being in the mirror and just be like, you can do this. You're the best person ever. Like very Muhammad Ali, I'm the greatest, right? I actually think the most effective self-talk, it's not about being positive. It's about having a positive relationship with the conversation in your brain. So imposter syndrome, that is not a bad thing. Your brain is simply saying to you, hey, are you sure you should be here? We panic. We're like, oh my God, we're not good enough. Our brain's telling us we're bad. Just simply have the conversation to be like, yeah, I am.
An extension of the social media thing where you can always find somebody that's better than you. That's the case in everything, right? So like, if I built £1 billion business, there's always somebody else that has done a bigger, better job, right? Who gets paid more than me, who is more famous than me, whatever. I think when you start to stop thinking that way and compete with yourself, so like, I would like to be a better runner in 6 months' time than I am today. I'd like to have more resilience and endurance than I do today in 6 months' time or in a year's time. And you start competing against yourself. That's when I've noticed the biggest, most positive changes in my life.
Yeah, but I think as well, right? I think this is a very Instagram thing where it's like, don't compete with others, compete with yourself. Problem is, so many people don't like themselves. So then you're in the problem that if you don't actually have enough awareness about your insecurities, your lack of belief, your limiting beliefs, you competing with yourself is actually going to make you feel a lot worse. And that's why that level of kind of like, not necessarily maturity, I'd say emotional maturity and awareness needs to be there. And one thing I wanted to mention, so one of my favorite concepts in the pursuit of excellence comes from Jim Murphy. And he says there are 3 types of best. 1, the best. That is like you're the best in the world, best business, best runner, etc. Number 2, doing your best. And number 3 is just give your best shot. And I love it because he's like, if you can become aware of those different environments I'm in, it allows you to continue performing well, yet also being compassionate to those different levels.
But I think as well that there has to be a maturity around these topics, right? Because it's like there is of course in life an element of natural talent and ability as well, right? So like, regardless of how much I want to be a Formula One racing driver, that is impossible at this stage in my life. I'm 36 years old. I'm never going to be a Formula One racing driver. I haven't put in the time since I was 5 years old in karts.
Yeah.
I haven't won, tournaments my entire life as a racing driver. To sit in a racing car now and become the best in the world is completely impossible. So the pursuit of that is a waste of time. So that is just important when, of course, that example is really extreme, becoming a Formula One racing driver. But I think people need to chew off things that they can actually chew, as well. There's no point in setting yourself a target of, I want to be the best entrepreneur in the world. It might happen, but it's kind of stupid, right?
No,
you're up against people who are naturally more gifted than you in certain fields.
And when setting goals, I think, you've got to think what's challenging yet possible to me. And also why? Like, why is it important to you? Like, whenever I do this goal stuff, before I even get to visualization, it's like, but why do you even want it? Who do you want to become on the way? Because you may not achieve that goal. Is that going to determine your worth and you're just then going to go into a depression? It can't be the case. But we have to go beyond it.
It may be that the journey to achieving your goal is still such significant progress, even if you fail.
That's why I'd say, I obviously agree with you saying about becoming the best F1 driver in the world, but having that goal still in mind, knowing that you can't, but would it not take you further?
100%. So my goal is build a Nike of mental fitness, right?
Yeah.
Am I going to build another Nike? I mean, I don't know. That's insane, right?
Yeah.
But do I wake up and feel inspired by it every day?
Goal.
Does it push me to be so much bolder in my decision making, in the way I, try and go for opportunities, create my luck? 100%.
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to probably become Timothy Chalamet in acting. But the goal
that's subjective. So.
But do you know what I mean? Like, I could say to myself, one day you're going to win an Oscar, knowing full well that I'm probably never going to win an Oscar. Yeah, but then that drives me to when I get another acting job to go, just be 0.01% better in this job. Yeah, and then you might never get there, but at least you're aiming for it.
You winning an Oscar is not impossible. It's very, very unlikely. but it's not impossible.
Yeah, it's not.
Like you could land a role that is just perfect for you in an indie film that just happens to smash it. You never know.
Yeah.
Becoming an F1 racing driver is impossible. It's not possible.
I 100% agree. But I'm just saying, having a goal that maybe isn't achievable, can that be a good thing?
I would love to see you win an Oscar, by the way.
Thank you, brother. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe this podcast. You never know, guys. You never know.
Can you win Oscars for podcasts?
I don't think you can win Oscars for podcasts.
Well,
but if we could, we would.
Anything's possible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
I do think it depends on your brain. Some people really...
Bad luck.
No, as in some people love and thrive on bigger goals.
Yeah.
Some people, that panics them because the gap is too much.
Yeah.
So again, it's knowing,
And you've also said being positive all the time is a bad thing.
Oh, so bad.
Okay.
There's that thing. Sunshine all day, every day makes a desert.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, nice. You need a bit of rain.
Yeah.
Make hay while the sun shines. Can't make too much hay, can you?
Well, I think this is it though. Like, I think the amazing part of being human is the breadth and depth we get to experience. And so when people always like to me, let's be happy all the time, or positive thoughts only, it's like, but that denies the human experience.
Yeah.
So for someone like me who's not quite sure on what the whole visualization thing is, how do you physically go about doing it?
Okay, so I think I want to just take you both through a very it's like 30 seconds, but it will really bring together what we've spoken about in terms of the science, as well as just the process of it. We're going to do a lemon exercise. Now, anyone listening or watching at home, you can literally join in with this as well. It's super effective. Okay, so just both close your eyes for me. Now, I just want you to imagine that you are in your kitchen. Okay, so just see yourself there, see the colors of the cupboards or everything. And now go to the fridge. And I want you to open the fridge and you just feel that
delicious.
My fridge is broken at home.
My fridge, my fridge is full of goodies.
Right, you cannot speak during this. Do you understand? Okay, you feel a bit of a waft of cold air. And then on one of the shelves, there's half a lemon. And just hold that lemon in your hand. Okay.
Do I take the cling film off it?
Yeah, take the cling film. Yeah. And it's got it's cold, tough yellow skin. But it's a juicy lemon. And just start smelling it now. So it's quite fragrant. It's you can smell it's quite citrusy. And now I want you to take this lemon and I want you to drop by drop, squeeze that juice into your mouth. I want you to taste every drop. And it's so sour. It is so tangy. Your saliva's getting a little bit weird. You got that like tingling in your cheeks. Maybe the pip comes in. Really taste it. Like empty the lemon out with all the squeezing. Okay, now open your eyes. Right. What happened? Did your saliva go a bit weird? Are you like swallowing a bit more? Did your cheeks tingle a bit? Did you see the lemon, etc.?
It was all very bright.
I definitely felt like my cheeks and my mouth was getting ready for food.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know
So
what
it's
I mean?
it's like salivating.
Yeah.
Salivating. Salivating.
That's what I was doing.
You
Yeah,
said salivating.
Salivating, yeah.
Salivating. Like
Yeah.
I felt like it was salivating.
Wow, your teeth are like perfect.
Thank you so much.
Wow, okay.
Cheers. I know.
Lemon is not good for the teeth. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, I also felt a little bit like a bit of an idiot because I was like,
Yeah,
really,
but that's
we're
okay.
going for it. Yeah. Was you not doing
I
that?
was just imagining doing it.
But no, so like,
It was very
Is that a
vivid.
different way to
okay,
do it?
so
It was vivid.
okay, so like for example, just with your thing about actions, F1 drivers will use like, they'll be doing this whilst with their eyes closed.
Okay,
So don't
yeah.
worry about the actions.
Okay.
Obviously, a lemon is a bit of a silly example, but you can see in that situation, none of you are actually holding a lemon, right?
Yeah.
But your brain is reacting like you are. It's literally firing the same neurons as if you were to actually be drinking that or eating that lemon. So that's why your saliva went a bit weird, your body reacted, or even you could see it, right?
Yeah.
But now let's apply this to actually something that's going to be really like beneficial for maybe your emotions or goals, right? So I'll just explain. So if you were going to do this for like performance, and I'm actually surprised you don't do more visualization, if I'm honest, because as runners, it is imperative if you are doing high intensity things.
I think I kind of naturally visualize things.
Naturally,
So like I was really excited to talk to you about this actually. I find myself daydreaming quite a lot.
Yeah.
So like even when I'm at work, not during an interview, but like if I like after this interview, like when you leave, I might sit down and have a few minutes to myself, but not even intentionally. And I'll like end of the year, one of the last Ironman triathlons.
Yeah.
Well, the last Ironman triathlon that I'm going to do, last of 7, is in Antarctica. And I know that the swim in Antarctica is going to be the hardest thing about the whole thing. It's going to be 0 degrees. It's going to take my breath away. It's just going to be this thing that I have to contend with. And it's going to take, I'm going to be in the water for 80, 90 minutes, maybe, potentially. Less, hopefully. And so like, I can feel that. Like sometimes I'm in a cab and like I drift off slightly. And I imagine myself like slipping into the water and I'm wearing this big wetsuit. Like I don't know what I'm going to be wearing, but I imagine I'll be wearing a big wetsuit. And it's got these big black gloves and I'm wearing a big mask this time instead of small goggles. And it's just all part of this like thing that I can see. And I get into the water and I can see the ice and it's dark water. Like my head goes underwater and I can't see a single thing. And like I feel it. I feel the temperature and everything. And it's like it's
Brilliant.
just something that happens naturally.
Yes.
But I don't intentionally think about it. It just comes into my thoughts all the time.
Love that. And daydreaming is good. Now imagine if you were to do it intentionally, your performance will change. The way you think changes because now daydreaming is like unintentional visualization. And the problem with daydreaming is we don't value the repetition enough. So if you were like, right, okay, every day for 5 minutes, I am going to sit down and do the same rehearsal. And then you can start seeing things going wrong. You feeling like I always do this with marathon runners. I want you to visualize yourself wanting to stop. Literally in your body, be like, no, I'm in too much pain, I'm going to stop. Now in your visualization, push through that. And it's amazing the difference it makes. So you are already doing it naturally, which is good, but the more intentional you can do it, the better it's going to actually have an impact. But literally, even when you're like in an ice bath or whatever, like be there and do the visualization there. So you're like Anthony Joshua would put like the audience sounds on. So he'd hear the crowd roar, he'd close his eyes and he'd imagine the fight.
Oh, wow.
So to really make it such an immersive environment. So that's a good example of like process visualization where you're seeing it. So let's try creative. Okay. So creative can be for managing emotions. So remember, emotions are energy in motion, right? We always try and think away them. Like if you're anxious and someone's like, oh, like, Jake, why don't you just calm down? You'll be fine. You just want to punch the guy. So this is a really good way to feel an emotion, deal with it, and release it.
Okay.
Have any of you two, you must have, I hope you have, Inside Out?
The film?
The film?
Absolutely.
Have you
Got
seen
the
it?
The
kids.
Disney film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how you're so confused. That Use that as inspiration. Because what I'm going to do is ask you, I will do it in a second, but just for some context. So your brain thinks in images, colors, shapes, right? So if I say to you, okay, why don't you think about something recently that has made you feel a bit anxious or maybe a bit fearful, worried, overwhelmed, I'll ask you, where do you feel in your body? Because it's not a mind thing, it's a body thing. So it'll be somewhere, chest, anywhere.
Right.
Or even if there's a bit of tension in your body, it doesn't have to be for anxiety or an emotion, right? And then I will ask you to put a shape to it, a color to it. Sometimes it can be a character. So it might be like that angry dude. It might be what anxiety looked like in the movie. It could be just like a red fire, a yellow spiky ball, anything. And then using our mind and visualization, we're going to feel it and then make it smaller. So this process is just to help you. Now, the reason I like this is because I'm not asking you to label it. I don't mind if you don't know the name of the emotion. Like Sadhguru, the like spiritual leader, he's like, let's stop labeling things as good, bad. Just, it's an emotion. It's a thought, right? Because then we take the judgment off immediately. Feeling anxious, for example, is a very human thing. It's a primary emotion we get. Your secondary emotion is how you feel about your feeling. Now, you're clearly judging yourself a lot for it. You might feel a bit of shame, or it's annoying, it's frustrating. They're the ones we can really control. Okay, so both of you, everyone in this room can close their eyes. Okay, so eyes closed. Let's just take a deep breath, breathing in. And Spencer, you can move your shoulders, move your neck, just move around. There you go, so you don't have to, okay. Now just keep breathing at a normal rhythm. Now what I want you to do is just think about a situation recently or maybe currently or even in the future that is making you just feel some sort of an emotion. It can be a person, it can be like a situation, it can be worry, fear, feeling a bit anxious. And you'll notice as you start bringing this to the present, just really tune into the body. Like, where do you feel it in the body? So it might be in your chest, like a bit of tightness. Maybe it's in the gut. Just become really aware of what your body is saying to you.
I think it might be in my neck.
That's fine. Stay there then. Okay, now, instead of running away from this or suppressing it or just trying to think it away, I simply want you to give it an image or a color or a shape. It can be like, like a red fire. Is it hot? Or is it like a spiky scissor, knife, whatever? Like, actually be creative here with your mind and make this emotion or sensation tangible. And just see that in your body. Notice how it's moving, what it does. And now instead of ignoring it, let's actually let it get a bit bigger. Let it get a bit hotter. Let it get a bit more. Give it its energy, if it's anger, if it's whatever it is. Just really feel it. Okay, now using your mind, slowly, we're just going to dissolve this. So again, be as creative as you want. Do you need to pour water on it? Do you need to just kick it out your body? Remember, the brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and imagined. So help actually process this emotion. And just see it get smaller and smaller and smaller. Till it's so small. It's like the size of a pea. And take one deep breath, breathing in. Massive exhale out and let it fully dissolve. Okay, and just gently, noticing slight more relief, openness, calmness, you can open your eyes.
That was great. Do you want to know what it was?
It's like a kid. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it was, I turned it, there was a little metal red ninja star in the shape of a devil.
Yeah, okay.
With a little tail.
Yeah.
And it was trapped in my throat.
Yeah.
And then I crushed it with my throat into a little ball bearing.
Okay.
And then blew it out of my mouth.
Nice. And does it feel better?
It felt fucking great, to be honest.
And it doesn't matter. We don't know what it was, right?
But well, again, actually, no.
You do know now?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Do you want to tell us?
No, don't think I can.
Mine was an aura on fire.
Yeah.
That hit me in the chest. And then for some reason, I walked in with a fucking chainsaw and just absolutely ragged it into splinters. And then it felt mint.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't feel any. I actually felt anxious when it started. And then when I blew out at the end, there was nothing there. Fucking
see,
mint.
that was what? Like, I don't know, 120 seconds, 2 minutes?
Well done.
You can just see the state can change.
No, that was really good. Like, I actually
really
went from feeling a bit anxious when I was thinking about the thing to feeling nothing. I'm not scared of anything anymore.
There you go.
So this is all in the book, everyone, that we didn't speak about. No, but it's true. You can use this anytime. I still use it. And even the best of the best use it. So and kids can use this because imagine how creative this is for them.
Who's the best of the best who uses it? Reel off some names.
Can't do that. Just Wimbledon, Premiership football. Like it's that. And I think, but But anyone, I think mothers are the most high performing people in the world.
I agree.
If I'm honest. So, I think it's just about, it's like my biggest thing that I will tell people is your brain, it's a puppy, right? And if you don't train it, it's going to shit.
Yeah.
Crikey.
Stroke it.
On everywhere.
Maya, we can't thank you enough for joining us in the Untapped studio today. That was quite the discussion.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
that was
we've learned a
great.
lot. We went to all kinds of unexpected places there, and I, for one, really enjoyed it.
I really can't wait to listen to it back to see where it goes.
Yeah, I actually can't remember it now. So
No,
it was
it was
such
brilliant.
a pleasure. It was such
brilliant.
a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you want to hear more incredible conversations with extraordinary people to help unlock the potential within all of us, then please subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can also catch up on previous episodes. Maya's book, Visualize, Think, Feel, Perform Like the Top 1%, is out now. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next week right here on Untapped. Is there anything more important than your brain, body, immunity, and overall health? It's a good question. I personally don't think so. That's where Vitals by Heights comes in. It's 20 essential nutrients packed into 2 daily capsules. Think high-impact B vitamins, omega-3s, and vitamin D3, everything you need to feel alert, stay active, and keep up with life. No nonsense, no fillers, just proper fuel made by those who know exactly what they're doing. I used to be a bit of a skeptic about supplements, but I quickly realized that diet and exercise weren't enough to be at the top of my game. I needed backup for my brain and body, and Vitals quickly became a part of my daily routine, keeping me sharp, focused, and somewhat sane. Honestly, just give it a go and see what it can do for you. You've got nothing to lose and so much to gain. Get 20% off your first month subscription at heights.com/untapped or use code UT20 at checkout.